Hello, beautifuls. Welcome to Mana Reads. I'm back. I didn't really go anywhere to be quite honest, but yeah, but I'm back doing my story videos for Heaven's Official Blessing. I know it's been a while since we've done a video, or since I've done a video for Heaven's Official Blessing. I hope y'all didn't forget. So just to kind of give you a little refresher before is we're now on chapter 6, Clothes Redder Than Maple. So we just met one of the forms of Hua Chen. His version is called Zelan. Zelan just decided to give him a name. So that's what he called him. And so yeah, so we're on the journey. We're on an ox cart. We're going somewhere. I think they're going back home. And so well, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Out of respect, Zealand didn't say my little friend. The youth sat up casually, propped an arm on a raised knee and fixed his leaves. He replied unconcerned. Nothing major, really. Just that there once was an incident where he cleaned out the nest of another ghost, and a shower of blood rain poured down from the skies. He saw a flower was getting battered by the bloody rain, so he tilted his umbrella and shielded it. Zillan pictured it in his head, imagining such an act of elegance under the rancid shower. He then thought about the burning of those 33 temples and laughed. Does Hua Chen pick fights often? The youth answered, Not often. Depends on his mood. What was he like before his death? Zilan asked. Definitely not a good person, the youth replied. What does he look like? The youth raised his eyes to look at him when he heard the question, tilted his head, and stood up before sitting down next to Zilan. What do you think he looks like? He turned the question on Zilan. Seeing the youth up close, Zilan thought he was too handsome for words. His beauty was deadly, like a sword, sharp and mesmerizing, making it hard to stare head-on. Zilan only met his eyes for a moment, then lowered his eyes in defeat. He turned his head slightly and continued to ask, If Hua Chen is a big shot ghost, I'm sure he has many forms and changes often. The youth arched his eyebrow at Zilan, turning away and replied, Yeah, but there are still times when he would use his real face. Of course, we're talking about his true form. It might have been his vision, but Zilan thought the distance between the two of them seemed a little wide, so he turned his face back around. Then I feel his true form is probably a youth like you. The youth lifted his lips slightly. Why do you say that? Zilan replied, No reason. You say whatever I think. You say whatever and I think whatever. Everything's whatever, that's all. The youth laughed. Who knows? But he's blind in one eye. He pointed to the right eye. This one. There was something outrageous. Zilan recalled one of the many backstory versions where Hua Chen wore a black eye patch to hide the missing eye and asked, Do you know what happened to his eye? That's the question everyone wants the answer to, the youth replied. Others asked because they wanted to know what Hua Chen's weakness was, but Zilan asked purely out of curiosity. He didn't say anything, and the youth continued. He dug it out himself. Zilan was taken aback. Why? A moment of madness, the youth answered. He could dig out his own eye when struck by madness. Zilan was now more curious than ever about the Crimson Ghost King. It couldn't have been something as simple as a moment of madness. But there was probably no more detail about that story. Zilan pressed on. Does Hua Chen have any kind of weakness? He wasn't expecting the youth to have the answer. It was just a casual question. If Hua Chen's weakness was so easily known, then whatever the rumored weakness was impossibly true. But the youth answered immediately. His ashes. If one got a hold of a ghost of ashes, one could take command of said ghost. If the ghost disobeyed, then by getting rid of the ashes, the ghost would dissolve and his soul disintegrate. This was common knowledge, but using it on Hyo Chen seemed fruitless. Zilan smiled. There's probably no one who can obtain his ashes. So that weakness is the same as having no weakness. You never know, the youth said. There are circumstances where a ghost would voluntarily give away his ashes, like the bet he had with those 33 heavenly officials. Yeah, right, the youth scoffed. He didn't need to say the words for Zilan to understand that he meant there was no way Hua Chen would have lost. He continued, there's a custom in the ghost realm where if a ghost has a special someone, they entrust their ashes to that person. That was akin to handing over one's life to another person. Such passion. What a charming tale that would be, Zilan commented, interested. I didn't know the ghost realm held such romantic practice. They do, the youth said, but not many dare to practice. Zilan thought as much. It wasn't only ghosts who deceived humans. There were humans who deceived ghosts too. There must be an endless tales of manipulation and betrayal. Zilan sighed. It certainly is painful to think about, to have given everything for love and lose everything in return. The youth laughed out loud. Zilan grinned, then suddenly realized they still didn't know each other's names, despite having chatted for so long. My friend, what's your name? The youth raised one hand over his forehead to block out the rays of the sun, of the blood-red sunset, and squinted his eyes as if loathing the sun. Me? I'm third in my family. They call me Sanlan. He didn't say his full name, and it wasn't Zilan's place to ask. My family name is Z. Given name is Lan. Where are you headed? Are you heading to Pukui village too? Sanlan lay back into the hay. He put his arms behind his head and crossed his legs. Don't know. I have no destination in mind. It sounded as if there was a story to his words, so Zilan gently asked, What's the matter? Sanlan sighed. My parents were quarreling and kicked me out. I walked for a long time, but had nowhere to go. I almost passed out from hunger on the streets before finding somewhere at random to lay down. The clothes on the boy's back looked casual, but the material was of high quality. With the knowledgeable way he spoke and how carefree he appeared, Zilan had long since thought he was a boy from a wealthy family. It must be quite difficult for a respectable young man to wander so long on his own. Zilan understood the feeling. Hearing he was hungry, Zilan searched through his sack, but only found a small steamed bun. Good thing it hadn't turned hard yet. Want it? The youth nodded, and Zilan gave him the bun. Sanlan looked at Zilan. What about you? I'm all right. I'm not hungry yet, Zilan replied. Sanlan pushed the bun back. Then I'm all right too. Zilan looked at him, then split the bun in half and gave him half. You can have half, and I'll have the other half. Seeing this, Sanlan accepted the steamed bun and started munching. Watching him sit and eat simple bun obediently, Zilan felt like he was abusing the boy. The ox cart drove slowly over the rugged hills as the sun gradually set and the two chatted in the back. The more they spoke, the more Zilan thought Sanlan to be an extraordinary youth. At such a young age, his diction and behavior were already mature and intelligent, calm, and collected, as if there was nothing in this world he didn't know and nothing could stump him. Zilan thought he was wise beyond his years, but sometimes he would still reveal the folly of youth. Zilan said he was the shrine master of Piu Kui Shrine, and Sanlan asked, Piu Kui Shrine? Sound like there's plenty of water chestnuts to eat. I like them. Which god is it for? Having been asked this troublesome question again, Zilan cleared his throat and said, The Prince of Zenli. You probably don't know him. The youth smiled. But before he could say anything, the ox cart suddenly shook violently. The two jerked with the cart, and Zilan reached to grab Sanlan, fearing he might fall. But just when his hand touched Sanlan, the youth shook it off as if it burned. There was only a slight change of his expression, but Zilan saw it and thought, maybe this boy actually disliked him. They had such a good time chatting all this way, though, hadn't they? Now wasn't the time to ponder. Zilan stood up and looked around. What's going on? The old one. No matter how the old driver urged it kept mooing, wanting to dig its head into the earth and flicking its tail like a whip. This didn't feel right. Zillan was about to jump off the cart when suddenly the old driver pointed straight ahead and screamed. Farther up the road, a number of hovering balls of green flames were popping up. Here and there they gathered and burned, floating through the woods. A group of white-clad figures slowly made their way towards them, carrying their own severed heads. Seeing this, Lan cried, "Protect!" Rui flew out from his sleeve and wrapped itself in a circle around the ox cart from above, protecting the three plus one beast. Zilan turned back and demanded, "What day is it today?" The old driver didn't respond before the youth spoke up from behind. "It's Zhanghuan. The middle of the 7th month, when the gates to the underworld opened. He didn't check his calendar before coming out today, and it just happened to be the Zhanghuan festival." Zilan's voice dropped. "Stay close to me. We run into We've run into evil tonight. If we go down the wrong path at the fork, we'll never return." The figures were dressed in white prisoner garb and had no heads. It appeared that they were newly executed criminals, and every one of them held a head in their hands. They wobbled slowly towards the ox cart as their heads buzzed in those bony arms. Zilan instructed the other two in the cart in a low voice. "In a moment, when they approach, do not make a sound." Zilan tilted his head. "Gege, I can't believe you're a man with superpowers." He sounded greatly interested, and Zilan replied, "Not really superpowers. I only know a few tricks. They can see us now, but it's hard to say whether they will when they get close." That old cart driver's eyes were nearly wide with fear after seeing the flight of the silk cloth. And now that they were headless walkers, his eyes were about to roll back in terror. He shook his head, repeating, "No, no, 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 no. I don't think I can hold my voice in Nazam. What should I do?" "Then there's another way. I apologize in advance." Zilan swiftly swung his head and tapped a point on the old man's back. And instantly the man slipped and passed out. Zilan caught him lightly and laid him down flat on the ox cart, while he himself assumed the driver's seat. Suddenly he sensed the strange movement behind him, and when he turned to look back, he saw that youth had followed him after and settled right behind him. Zilan asked, "Are you all right?" Sanlan propped up his chin. Of course not. I'm scared." Although there wasn't a single trace of fright detectable in his voice, Zilan still comforted him. "Don't be scared. You're behind me. Nothing will harm you." The youth smiled, not saying a word. Zilan suddenly realized that the youth was staring at him. Then quickly it dawned on him that what this youth was staring at was actually the cursed shackle around his neck. This cursed shackle was like a black collar bound to his neck, completely unconcealable. It could easily cause one to assume the worst. Zilan pulled his collar lightly, even though he couldn't hide anything. The skies had darkened, and that youth's expression could no longer be seen. Zilan picked up the reins to gently urge the ox onward. The group of ghosts in criminal guard walked over wanting to pass, but they kept sensing that there was something blocking the middle of the road, so they all cursed up and down. "What the hell's going on? Why can't we pass? Yeah, what the hell? Is it haunted? Fucking hell. We're the ones doing the haunting, all right." Zilan finally soothed the ox, and the cart silently passed by this band of headless criminal ghosts. Listening to the heads banter, Zilan thought them rather hilarious. They were full of petty woes. Did you make a mistake? How come it feels like the one holding your head is my body? You're the one whose body grabbed the wrong head. Hurry and switch back then, you guys. How come the cut around your neck ain't clean? Ha! The executioner was a newbie. It took him 5 or 6 tries before he managed to chop off my head. Made me think he did it on purpose. Your family probably didn't tip him well enough. Next time, don't forget to pay the guy, and he'll give you one clean chop. There's no next time. The The 15th day of the seventh month was the Yang Festival, the biggest festival for the ghost realm. On that day, the gates of the underworld opened, and all manner of spirits, ghosts, monsters, and demons swarmed out to celebrate with abandon. Mortals needed to avoid them at all costs, and especially on a night like this. It was best to stay home with every door and window shut. But Zilan had always had rotten luck. He could only drink water, and the water would get stuck between his teeth. And he could be wearing holy repellent gear, and ghosts would appear, like was happening now. Ghost fires flared all around them, and several were chasing after the fires. And some, dressed in funeral garb, were expressionlessly mumbling to themselves in front of a circle, trying to catch the offerings and Josh paper money burned for the afterlife by mortals. A scene like this suddenly epitomized the word pandemonium. Zilan crossed through the middle, thinking that from now on he must pay more attention to the calendar when going out. Suddenly, a screech that sounded like a chicken being butchered rang out. Oh no, no! Ghosts are being murdered! This scream made all the ghosts anxious. Where are they murdering ghosts? The ghost that screeched answered, I'm scared out of my wits. I found so many scattered ghost fires over there, and they're all brutally crushed. What hostility! All shattered. Then there truly broken beyond be heavens and cultivators. That band of headless people started shouting. Now that you mention it, weren't we just blocked by something on the road with no way of passing? Could it have been? Where? Right there! Zilan cried, oh no, mentally. The next second, a large group of nefarious beings surrounded the ox cart, each of their faces savage. They threatened maliciously. I smelled the steaming scent of the living. They couldn't hide any longer. It was already unreasonable for a live human to crash in on a band of ghosts in Luanyang Festival, as if Zilan actually wanted to fight such a large mob of creatures. He urged the cart onward and shouted, Go! The ox was terrified and was already stomping its hooves anxiously while it stood. Once it heard the shout, it didn't need to be ordered twice before they pulled the cart to a mad dash. Zilan didn't forget to grab the youth sitting behind him. Sit tight! He withdrew Rui and conveniently whipped out the path of escape. An ox cart suddenly revealed itself amidst a circle of ghost fires and dashed out of the siege. Those green-faced, teeth-baring, missing-limb ghosts screeched behind the car. There really is a cultivator! Damn cultivator is tired of living! A live human actually dared to crash a long-on gathering? You can't blame us for anything! Get them! Zilan was gripping onto the reins with one hand as his other hand fumbling out a large handful of paper talismans and threw them on the ground. Hinder! Those were stumbling talismans, excellent tools for escape. A series of small rumbling noises could be heard. With every rumble, an obstacle was set up for that band of ghosts. It would stall them for a short time, but only a short time. Despite using up so many talismans, it wouldn't even be half an instant's time before they caught up. Zilan was driving the cart down the mountain path in an escape like his rear was on fire when he suddenly called out, Stop! Okay, so that was exciting. So we're going to stop here. So they obviously ran into some trouble. Zilan apparently has terrible luck. We don't know how bad it is yet, but apparently it's pretty bad if you can run into a handful of ghosts and like the murdery kind of ghosts. So that's, that was probably not pleasant. So if you don't know what dross paper is, or if you haven't seen any ski dramas, so what typically what they would do, I'm not sure if they still do this, but typically what they would do is they would burn paper money for the dead. So at any time there was a funeral and they would burn paper money. It was called dross paper. Try to see if I could find a picture of it so I could post or just put it here. But so if you're wondering what that was. And that's what it is. So I hope you enjoyed the story video. I know that we haven't done it in a really long time. I was on vacation, and also I was just trying out different things, and I hope they all worked out. But if you like the video, please give that smash that like button. It does a cool little thing when you press like. It lights up now. I don't know, but I thought that was cool. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. There's a million ways to support me if you consider joining my Patreon. I will give you a shout out so that I can thank you for being my Patreon, also my patron. Also, I'm planning if I could get some people to do a streaming party, like a private streaming party, if you become my patron. So that's to the perks that I have available for you at the moment. But yeah, I hope you all had a good. I hope you all have a good week, rest of your week. On Friday, I will be going over one of the novels that I purchased. I've been reading it so far, so we're going to talk a little bit of that about that. Then on Saturday, I will probably do a reaction and also do my live stream. So I've decided to change the time of my live stream because everyone's busy like watching all the BLs that day because there's a lot that come out on Saturdays. So I've decided to kind of push my stream back probably because I was doing it from 12 p.m. to 1, but I think I'm going to switch that to 1 p.m. to 2 so that more people can join that. We'll be playing Dream Daddy again because we have to get that going as well. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment. Let me know what you think. And I hope you all have a good day.